Hopefully you enjoyed that exciting video, so let's move on now. Yesterday, we learned that there are 10 rules that govern subject-verb agreement. We covered the first two, so we are now going to review the first two rules. Then today we will cover the next 4 rules, and tomorrow we will cover the last 4 rules. The first 2 rules are found in yesterday's class notes, so there's no need to write anything down just yet unless you were absent yesterday. In that case, please get a copy of yesterday's class notes and jot down some information. When we begin covering rules 3, 4, 5, and 6 in a few minutes, please begin filling in today's notes. Rule number 1 says this: when words are stuck between the subject and the verb, they do not affect subject-verb agreement. You need to ignore those words when determining the correct verb to use. Here's an example. The pretty bird outside my window hums a catchy tune. So there are some words that are stuck between the subject and the verb, and they're messing us up. We got to get rid of them so we can figure out what to do. Outside my window. Those words are stuck between the subject and the verb. Let's get rid of them and then work with this sentence. Now we've got something that we can work with. Those words that were stuck in the middle are gone. We've removed them. We have put our line between the subject and the verb, which is always our next step. And we can now identify our subject is bird, our verb is hums, and they are singular. Since bird is singular as the subject, it has to have a singular verb. Hums has an S on the end of it. The pretty bird hums a catchy tune. So the pretty bird hum a catchy tune would not be correct. Hum is plural. The pretty bird hums a catchy tune is correct. It's important to move those words out of the way that were in the middle because they can get you confused. That's why you get rid of them. Then you can see exactly what you are truly dealing with. Here's what rule number 1 means in plain English if we get rid of all the teacher talk. When there are words between the subject and the verb, just ignore them. Don't pay any attention to them. Act like they do not exist. Then you can see what you're truly dealing with and identify your subject, identify your verb, and easily be able to tell if it's singular or plural. Rule number 2 says, when the subject contains words such as or, nor, either, or neither, then the verb agrees with the closer subject. So let's make that make sense. Here's an example sentence. Marvin or Reggie uses peanut butter to style his hair. The rule says that the verb will agree with the closer subject, the subject that is closest to the verb. So to make it make sense, let's just get rid of the words that are before the closer subject. So let's make them go away. Now we've got Reggie uses peanut butter to style his hair. And we can see that Reggie is one person, so that's a singular subject. Uses needs to be a singular verb. We wouldn't say Reggie use peanut butter. We would say Reggie uses peanut butter. And so by ignoring the words before Reggie, we have figured out how to make it agree. Again, if we get rid of the teacher talk and just say it in plain English, here's what rule number 2 really means. When the subject contains words like or, nor, either, or neither, just ignore everything before the last word of the subject. Last word of the subject here is Reggie. Just ignore everything before that, and then that makes it easy to figure out the subject-verb agreement. Now let's move on to some new material. Let's cover the next 4 rules of subject-verb agreement. So at this point, you do need to begin taking notes on your fill-in-the-blank note sheet. And remember, you'll file it into your binder when you're done, and that will be your study notes for tests and for assignments. Rule number 3 says this: when subjects are joined by and or both an and, the verb is plural. So let's make that make sense. Here is a good example sentence. Both Samantha and Jenny play the tuba with their toes. Very talented young ladies. So this is a both and sentence. We have both Samantha and Jenny play the tuba with their toes. So all this both and thing really means in plain English is we have two subjects, Samantha and Jenny. So Samantha and Jenny are joined by the word and. It's the same thing as saying they. And so we treat it as plural because there are two young ladies, Samantha and Jenny. So we use the word play instead of the verb plays. Plays would not make sense for two people. It would make sense for one person. So since there are two people, we say play. And that's how we apply rule number 3. Before we cover rule number 4, we need to learn a new definition. Indefinite pronouns. We know that a pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun, like he, she, they. Indefinite pronouns do not refer to a specific person, place, or thing. For example, you see anybody on this list. Anybody is not a specific person. It's anybody. So now that we've clarified that, these indefinite pronouns are always singular. So when they're used as the subject, they need a singular verb. You'll want to write these in your notes. Anybody, no one, everyone, nobody, anyone, someone, everybody, neither, either, somebody, each, and one. Pause the video at this time to give the class enough time to fill in their notes from this slide. When everyone is done, resume the video. Here is a good example of how this works. Look at the sentence at the bottom of the screen. Neither of the space aliens needs glasses. Just like we did in some previous examples, let's get rid of any words between the true subject and the to verb. So now we've eliminated all confusion. We've drawn the line between the subject and the verb. Neither, an indefinite pronoun, is the subject, and so it always needs a singular verb. Needs is singular. We wouldn't say neither need glasses. That doesn't sound right. It's neither needs glasses. On to rule number 5. And again, a reminder, new definition, an indefinite pronoun does not refer to a specific person, place, or thing. So here are 4 more indefinite pronouns, and you'll want to write them in your notes as well. They are both, few, many, and several. So the rule is these 4 indefinite pronouns are always plural. When one of these is used as a subject, it has to have a plural verb. So anytime you see both, few, many, or several, just assume it's more than one. Here's a good example sentence. Many of the students play football. So just as we did before, we're going to get rid of any words between the true subject and the true verb. So on the screen, I have made them disappear, and we can see our subject is many, which is an indefinite pronoun on that list above, and the verb is play. So we're always assuming, if we see many, that it's more than one. And so more than one person, the verb would be play, not plays. And that's how we apply that rule. And finally, I'm sure there's a round of applause for that, rule number 6. And it says, these pronouns below can be either singular or plural, depending on the word to which that pronoun refers. Those pronouns are all, any, most, none, and some. Again, stop the video so the class can write down the words and then continue. Here is a good example sentence, and we'll do 2 examples on this one. Most of the blanket covers the bed. Most of the blanket covers the bed. Again, we get rid of the words between the true subject and the verb. Of the blanket goes away, and that helps us get a true picture of what we're working with, because blanket is not the subject, most is the subject. And we can see that it only sounds right to say covers. And so in this case, most uses a singular verb. Most covers the bed because it refers to blanket. Here's a second example. Some of the shirts fade after they are washed once. Some of the shirts fade after they are washed once. Once again, we get rid of the words between the true subject and the verb. Of the shirts goes away. Shirts is not our subject. Some is the true subject. Some is referring to shirts, and that affects this. Some is our subject. Fade is our verb, and not fades, because it only fits in that way with the word it's referring to. So this time, the verb is plural. Some of the shirts fade once they are washed. Well, as we close out, let's sum up what we've done today. Today, we took a virtual visit to the Anne Frank house in preparation for what we will be reading beginning next week. We then continued our study of subject-verb agreement with a focus on singular and plural, nouns and verbs. For the remainder of the class period, let's practice these concepts. At this time, use your Chromebook to enter Google Classroom and open the classwork assignment for today. While I am out, all assignments will be through Google Classroom so that I can grade them from home. Feel free to pick one partner and work with that person. As always, this will be graded and posted, so please take your time, read all instructions, sentences, and words very closely, and be very precise with your answers. If you do not finish during class, make sure that you submit it within the next 24 hours to avoid receiving a late penalty. Finally, I miss you guys. I'm very proud of you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.